So looking at the first question there, your first equation, 3x plus 2y is less than or equal to -2. Now this looks different than our warm-up question because our warm-up question only had one variable with it. This has two different variables with it, an x and a y. This should look semi-familiar to you though because we just worked with equations. I understand that there's no equal sign here, but we're going to work through this problem the same exact way. So step number 1 here says rearrange the equation into slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we're going to ignore that this even has an inequality symbol here, and we're going to go about getting this into slope-intercept form right like we normally would. Subtract your 3x from both sides. You get 2y less than or equal to -2 minus 3x. Divide each thing by 2. So you get y is less than or equal to a -1 minus 3 over 2x, or you could have a -3 over 2x minus 1. Either one is perfectly fine. Moving down to less than or equal to, there we go. Okay, moving down to the next step, using the slope and the y-intercept to create a graph. Looking at these, your slope would be a -3 over 2. Y-intercept is -1. Yes, I know there's an equality symbol here, but we're going to graph it right like we would an equation. So we always start at our y-intercept. So y-intercept is -1. My slope is -3 over 2. So that tells me to go down 3 and then to the right 2. Or I could go up 3 to the left 2. Okay, don't draw your line yet, just put the dots. All right, now moving on to step 3. This is where things are just a little bit different. We need to determine whether we should use a solid or a broken line. It's going to be a solid line if it's an equal to, a broken line if it's just less than or greater than. So if we go back to our problem here, since we have a less than or equal to sign, it's going to be a solid line that we are drawing. Okay. Now again, if you think back to our warm-up, we shaded because left was less. Here we need to either shade above or we need to shade below. So think about greater than. The word greater than, does that sound like above or does it sound like below? Hopefully that sounds like above. So shading above is greater than or equal to. Shading below is less than or less than or equal to. Again, going back to our symbol in our problem, we had a less than or equal to problem, meaning we needed to shade below. So everything below our line is going to get shaded in. Right? The reason it's shaded is because everything in this purple area now is now considered a solution to our original inequality. Okay, and let's move on to the second question. Again, you can rewrite your solid line, broken line information there because that's not going to change. So solid line, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, broken line, less than or greater than, shading above, shading below. Again, that information here for 3 and 4 is never going to change. Okay, so you probably want to star it, circle it, do something to make sure that that sticks out to you. All right, so right now I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to get number 1 into slope-intercept form on your own. All right, so hopefully you took a minute to actually get that into slope-intercept form. So let's check our work. Subtracting 2x. Dividing them by a -3. Now, hopefully, maybe, for some of you guys, dividing by a negative, alarm bells are going off in your head. If that's the case, that's great. If not, not a big deal. Think back to inequalities again. If you divide by a negative number, what do we need to do with our symbol? Hopefully, you're saying we need to flip it. So again, please write on your notes. If you divide by a negative, the inequality symbol must flip. If that doesn't happen, that means that we're going to end up shading the wrong way. So we need to make sure, remember to flip that symbol. So your equation can be written, your inequality can be written this way, or again, you can put your slope first. Doesn't matter. Okay, but again, notice how our inequality symbols have flipped compared to the original. So going through, our slope is 2/3. Y-intercept is -4. So this is our starting point here. Coming down here, -4, putting a dot. 2/3 going up 2, to the right 3. Okay, and it looks like I'm only going to be able to fit those 2 dots. Looking at our inequality symbol again, it's a greater than symbol now. So if we come over here and look, we're going to need to make this a broken line. So broken line, guys, is just a dashed line. Dashed line still has arrows on each end. You need to ask yourself, are we shading above or below? Since it's greater than, above or below, it's greater than, we're going to be shading above. So everything above that line gets shaded, meaning everything in that shaded area would be considered a solution to this inequality.